It was a sleepless night, the kind that stretches on forever, filling every corner of your mind with shadows and doubts. I was pacing the floor of our bedroom when my hand brushed against the edge of the drawer. I stopped and looked at it. It had been ages since I had rummaged through that drawer. It was a collection of old letters, mementos from our early days together. Curiosity nudged me, and I pulled out a letter that had slipped from its envelope. As I unfolded the paper, a flicker of something warm and familiar caught my eye. My wife, Jennifer, had written it. It was addressed to someone named Alex. The words on the page twisted my gut. Jennifer had written about moments shared, emotions I'd never seen from her before. Her sentences flowed with a tenderness and longing that were foreign to me. The letter spoke of nights spent dreaming of a future together, of plans that went beyond mere charity work, and of feelings that I could only imagine through her words. Each sentence was like a dagger, and as I read on, I felt the room closing in around me. I had always known Jennifer to be passionate about our joint philanthropic projects, but this was different. This was more than passion. This was something deeper, more personal, and infinitely more dangerous. The letter was signed with a flourish, "Forever yours, Jennifer." I could barely breathe. I felt like the floor had given way beneath me, and I was falling into an abyss of betrayal and confusion. How had I missed this? How had I not seen the signs? The clock on the nightstand ticked loudly in the stillness, marking each passing second with an unforgiving rhythm. I was overwhelmed by a mix of emotions: hurt, anger, disbelief. My thoughts raced through every interaction Jennifer and Alex had shared, trying to piece together the moments I had brushed off as innocent. I clutched the letter tightly, the paper crumpling under my grip. The world outside my window was still, but inside a storm raged. I needed answers, and I needed them now. This letter was not just a revelation, it was a declaration of a future that didn't include me. As dawn began to break, casting pale light into the room, I knew my life was about to change forever. This letter was not just a piece of paper. It was the beginning of the end of everything I thought I knew. The morning after finding Jennifer's letter was a blur of disbelief and sorrow. As I sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee that had long since gone cold, my mind drifted back to the early days of our relationship. Those were the days when everything seemed so clear, so full of promise. I remember the day we met vividly. Jennifer had been volunteering at a local charity event, and I had been drawn to her radiant energy and genuine compassion. We clicked instantly, sharing stories and dreams over cups of coffee in that cozy little cafe. Our shared passion for helping others was the foundation of our connection. Our relationship had always been built on a shared vision of making a difference. We spent weekends organizing fundraisers, working at shelters, and planning outreach programs. Those moments of teamwork and dedication had created a bond between us that felt unbreakable. We were partners in every sense of the word, both in love and in our mission to give back. Jennifer's enthusiasm for our projects was infectious. She had a way of inspiring everyone around her, and I had admired her dedication from the start. We dreamed of expanding our efforts, of creating something meaningful that would leave a lasting impact on the world. It was a dream that felt so real, so achievable, and I had believed wholeheartedly that we would make it happen together. But now, as I looked around our home, the place where we had planned our future, where we had shared our deepest hopes and fears, the reality of Jennifer's betrayal felt like a heavy weight pressing down on me. The house, once a sanctuary of love and shared dreams, now seemed to mock me with its emptiness. I picked up a photo from the mantel, a picture of Jennifer and me at one of our early charity events, beaming with pride. It was a snapshot of a time when everything was right, when our love and our mission seemed inseparable. How had we gone from that hopeful beginning to this shattered present? As I walked through the house, each room seemed to echo with memories of happier times. The walls, once witnesses to our laughter and plans, now felt like they were closing in on me, suffocating me with their silence. The weight of Jennifer's betrayal hung heavily over everything, a constant reminder of how far we had fallen from our shared dreams. I knew I needed to confront Jennifer about the letter, about the reality of her feelings for Alex. But as I looked around at the life we had built together, I couldn't shake the feeling that our future had been stolen from us in a way I could never have imagined. The dreams we had once shared now seemed like distant echoes, drowned out by the stark reality of what had come to pass. In the weeks following the discovery of Jennifer's letter, my days became a relentless cycle of unease and suspicion. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was profoundly wrong. Jennifer's behavior had shifted noticeably, though I was only beginning to piece together the fragments of this unsettling puzzle. At first, the changes were subtle. Jennifer began working longer hours at the charity, often staying late into the evening. She would come home exhausted, her eyes distant, and her mood increasingly irritable. I attributed this to the stress of managing a demanding project, but deep down, I felt a gnawing sense that there was more to it. Her phone became a source of constant anxiety for me. She guarded it fiercely, rarely leaving it unattended. When I tried to glance at the screen, Jennifer would quickly shield it or change the subject, an action that felt increasingly suspicious. There were also frequent, unexplained absences. Jennifer would mention meetings or events that I had never heard of before. I tried to be supportive, understanding that her work was important to her, but my concern grew as these absences became more frequent and longer. One evening, I found myself alone in the house, with Jennifer at another one of her so-called late meetings. I decided to take a look through the paperwork she had left behind, hoping to understand more about her new projects. Among the scattered documents, I found a stack of notes and agendas related to the charity work. However, it wasn't just the work-related papers that caught my attention. It was the personal notes, the ones where she had written things like, "as incredible vision," and "as insights are so inspiring." My heart sank as I realized that A was Alex, the man from the letter. These notes were filled with admiration, with references to conversations and moments shared that were not part of the official project. It was clear that their professional relationship had evolved into something more personal, more intimate. One afternoon, I decided to follow Jennifer. I told myself it was out of concern for her well-being, but deep down, I needed to know the truth. I trailed her discreetly, watching as she drove to a cozy cafe downtown. My heart raced as I saw her enter, only to be greeted by none other than Alex. They sat at a secluded corner table, their conversation animated and filled with laughter. The way they looked at each other, the way they touched hands and leaned in close, it was all too intimate, too familiar. It was a stark contrast to the platonic interactions I had been told about. I felt a surge of anger and sadness as I watched them. My thoughts raced through our past conversations, trying to remember if I had missed any signs. It was painful to see Jennifer so carefree with someone else, especially someone I had trusted and admired for his dedication to the same cause we once shared. As I drove home, my mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The evidence of their growing closeness was undeniable. I felt a deep sense of betrayal, knowing that the woman I had loved and built a life with was now sharing that love with someone else. The reality of Jennifer's infidelity was hitting me harder than ever, and I knew I had to confront her about it. The days following my discovery were a haze of sleepless nights and frantic thoughts. The image of Jennifer and Alex together in that cafe replayed over and over in my mind. I knew I had to address the situation, but I was still grappling with the pain of betrayal and the confusion of how to approach Jennifer. It was a Friday evening when Jennifer arrived home earlier than usual, her face flushed with excitement. She was animated as she spoke about a new project initiative, but her enthusiasm felt forced. I could sense her trying to keep up appearances, but the cracks were showing. When Jennifer went to take a shower, I took the opportunity to search through her belongings, hoping to find something, anything, that could provide clarity. As I rifled through her desk drawers, I came across a small notebook filled with scribbled notes and a calendar with appointments marked in vibrant colors. My heart raced as I flipped through the pages, noting frequent meetings with Alex that were described in affectionate terms: lunch with A, strategy session with A, and review with A. One entry stood out: planning retreat with A, exciting changes ahead. It was clear that these meetings were more than just work-related. The language was intimate, filled with the kind of excitement one might reserve for a personal relationship rather than a professional one. Jennifer's late nights and secretive behavior became a pattern. She would leave the house in the morning, dressed in smart business casual attire, only to return late at night. Sometimes, she would mention dinner plans with Alex or working late on a project that needed extra attention. Each time I was left alone with my thoughts, my doubts growing stronger with each passing day. One night, as Jennifer was getting ready to go out, I decided to follow her again. I felt a gnawing sense of dread and determination. I needed to see where these meetings were leading. I trailed behind her at a safe distance, my heart pounding as we drove to a part of town I didn't recognize. She pulled up to a quaint bed and breakfast on the outskirts of the city. My breath caught in my throat. It was a far cry from the typical meeting spots we frequented for charity events. I watched as Jennifer and Alex walked in together, their closeness apparent even from a distance. Alex's hand rested lightly on Jennifer's lower back as they entered the building, a gesture that spoke volumes about their relationship. The hours seemed to stretch endlessly as I waited outside, shivering in the cold night air. I tried to process what I was witnessing. Every time the door opened, I hoped for a glimpse of their interaction, but it was mostly just fleeting glimpses and muffled voices. Eventually, Jennifer and Alex emerged from the building, looking relaxed and content. They chatted and laughed as they walked to their cars, their ease with each other unmistakable. I felt a deep, wrenching pain as I watched them drive off in separate directions. When I returned home, I was exhausted and emotionally drained. I knew the time had come to confront Jennifer. I needed to hear the truth from her, to understand what had led her to this point. The secrecy, the meetings, the affection, it all pointed to something far beyond a professional relationship. As I sat alone in our dimly lit living room, I made a decision. Tomorrow, I would face Jennifer and demand the answers I so desperately needed. The truth, no matter how painful, was something I had to hear. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy heart, knowing that the time had come to face Jennifer. The past few days had been a whirlwind of emotions, and I was ready to confront the reality of our fractured relationship. As I prepared for the inevitable confrontation, I tried to steady my thoughts, focusing on what I needed to say rather than the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. Jennifer had stayed up late the previous night working on some paperwork. She was in a better mood than usual, or at least she was putting on a brave face. I could tell she was excited about her work and the upcoming exciting changes she had mentioned, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more beneath the surface. As we sat down for breakfast, I noticed her glance at the clock nervously. She had a meeting planned for later in the morning, and I could tell she was eager to get going. I knew that if I didn't speak up now, I might not get another chance. I took a deep breath and broke the silence. "Jennifer, we need to talk." Her eyes widened slightly, and she set her coffee cup down. "About what?" she asked, her voice laced with an edge of uncertainty. "I found something," I began, trying to keep my tone steady. "I found a letter and some notes. They were from Alex." Jennifer's face turned pale. She looked down at her plate, clearly struggling to maintain her composure. "What letter?" she asked, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her anxiety. "The letter you wrote to him, the one that mentioned your feelings for him and your plans together," I said, my voice rising with the weight of my hurt. "I also found notes and calendar entries that make it clear how close you've become with him." Jennifer's face flushed with a mix of guilt and resignation. She took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she said quietly. "I never wanted to hurt you." I felt a wave of frustration and sadness. "Then why did you? Why keep it a secret? Why all the late nights and hidden meetings?" She looked up at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It just happened," she said. "Alex and I connected on a level I didn't expect. Our shared passion for the charity work grew into something more, something I didn't plan for or foresee." I struggled to process her words. "And what about us, Jennifer? What about the life we built together? Did that mean nothing?" Jennifer's eyes were filled with anguish. "It's not that simple. I love you, but I also found something in Alex that I didn't realize I was missing. I tried to balance everything, but I failed. I'm so sorry." Her apology felt hollow against the pain I was experiencing. I couldn't help but think of all the dreams we had shared, the future we had envisioned together. The realization that she had found a new source of happiness with someone else made me feel betrayed and abandoned. "We need to figure out what's next," I said, my voice shaking. "I need to understand where we go from here. I can't keep living in this limbo." Jennifer nodded, her tears spilling over. "I understand. I'll give you space to process everything. We can talk more about this later." As she left for her meeting, the weight of her words hung heavily in the air. I was left alone with my thoughts, trying to reconcile the person I thought I knew with the one who had betrayed me. The road ahead was uncertain, and I knew that whatever happened next, our lives would be forever altered. The house was eerily quiet after Jennifer left for her meeting. I sat in the dim light of the living room, grappling with the overwhelming emotions from our earlier conversation. The room felt hollow, a stark contrast to the life that once filled it with warmth and hope. It wasn't long before Jennifer returned home. Her face was a mix of determination and sadness as she carried a small envelope. She set it down on the coffee table, her hands trembling slightly. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice wavering. "But first, I want you to read this." I picked up the envelope with a sense of dread. The note inside was addressed to me, written in Jennifer's familiar script. My heart pounded as I unfolded it, bracing myself for what was to come. ***. Dear Mark, I know this is difficult to read, and I wish I could find the right words to make this easier. The truth is, I have made a decision that will change everything. Alex and I have decided to start a new chapter of our lives together, one that will take us far from here. We are moving to a different city where we plan to focus on our shared passion for charity work. It's a chance for us to build something meaningful and impactful, away from the life we had together. We believe this is the best path for both of us, and we want to dedicate ourselves fully to helping those in need. I want you to know that this decision was not made lightly. I have struggled with my feelings and the impact this will have on you. I am deeply sorry for the hurt and confusion I have caused. I know that words cannot undo the pain, but I hope you can find it in your heart to understand that this is what we believe is right for us. We will be leaving soon, and I wanted you to have this note to explain our decision. Please know that I will always cherish the memories we created together, and I will forever be grateful for the time we shared. I hope you can find peace and healing in the future. I wish you all the best as you move forward. Sincerely, Jennifer. The note left me feeling numb. Jennifer's words were both a confirmation of what I had feared and a painful reminder of everything we had lost. The decision to move away with Alex and focus on their shared charity work was a clear signal that their relationship had evolved into something beyond mere friendship or professional collaboration. The thought of them starting over in a new city, dedicating their lives to a cause they both believed in, was both heartbreaking and infuriating. It was as if they were erasing the past and beginning anew, leaving me to pick up the pieces of the life we had once built together. As I read the note over and over, trying to grasp the reality of their departure, I felt a profound sense of loss. The dreams we had nurtured, the plans we had made, they were now shattered. Jennifer's departure and her new life with Alex felt like a cruel twist of fate, one that left me grappling with the future alone. I knew that I needed to make decisions about my own future, to find a way to move forward from this painful chapter. The house, now echoing with the silence of abandonment, would soon be a reminder of what once was, a life I had shared with someone who had chosen a different path. With a heavy heart, I prepared myself for the changes ahead. The road to healing would be long and uncertain, but I was determined to face it head-on. Jennifer and Alex were leaving behind the life we once knew, and now it was time for me to find my own way. Jennifer's departure left a void that I struggled to fill with anything other than despair. The house, now a monument to a life that had slipped through my fingers, felt colder and more alien with each passing day. Her absence was a constant reminder of the love and trust that had been so completely betrayed. The days that followed were filled with a storm of emotions. I found myself lost in the echoes of memories, replaying moments from our past and trying to understand where everything had gone wrong. The photographs on the walls, once symbols of happiness, now seemed like cruel reminders of a life that no longer existed. I had to face the reality of our broken relationship and the choices Jennifer had made. The note she left was a stark and final declaration of her new life with Alex. They were moving to another city, leaving behind everything they had known to pursue their shared passion for charity. It was a choice I couldn't reconcile with the image of the life we had built together. Each day, I struggled with a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. I would find myself wandering through the house, touching the objects that once held meaning, only to feel a surge of pain at their association with a past now tainted by betrayal. I avoided friends and family, not wanting to explain the painful reality of what had happened. It felt easier to be alone with my thoughts, even though they were often dark and overwhelming. I tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy, focusing on my work and daily routines. But even these activities seemed hollow without Jennifer. The things that once brought me joy now felt meaningless. I would sit at my desk staring blankly at the work in front of me, struggling to find the motivation to push through. One evening, as I sat alone in the living room, I found myself unable to escape the heaviness of my emotions. I picked up the phone and called a close friend, someone who had always been there for me. It felt like a lifeline in the midst of my emotional storm. "Hey, it's me," I said when my friend answered. My voice cracked with the weight of my feelings. "I need to talk." My friend listened patiently as I poured out my heart, sharing the pain and confusion I had been feeling. It was a relief to speak openly about the betrayal and the sense of loss that had consumed me. The conversation was a small but significant step toward confronting my feelings and beginning the process of healing. In the weeks that followed, I made an effort to reach out to those around me. I attended therapy sessions, sought support from friends, and began to engage in activities that helped me slowly regain a sense of purpose. It was a challenging journey, but I knew it was necessary to start moving forward. Jennifer's departure had left a significant mark on my life, but I was determined to find a way to rebuild and heal. The emotional storm was far from over, but with each day, I took small steps toward reclaiming my life and finding new paths to happiness. The process was slow and painful, but it was also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. Weeks had passed since Jennifer's departure, and the house had begun to feel less like a prison and more like a space for reflection. I had started to adjust to my new routine, though the absence of Jennifer was still a constant ache in my heart. I was learning to live with the void she left behind, but the emotional scars were slow to heal. One afternoon, while I was scrolling through my phone, I stumbled upon a news article that caught my eye. The headline read, "Former Philanthropist's New Venture, Transforming Lives Across the Country." My heart skipped a beat. I clicked on the article, and a wave of dread washed over me as I read the opening lines. The article detailed Jennifer's new charity project, which she and Alex had launched after moving to their new city. It spoke of its mission to support underprivileged communities and provide essential resources to those in need. The project was being hailed as a groundbreaking initiative, with Jennifer and Alex featured prominently as the driving forces behind it. As I read through the article, I saw images of Jennifer and Alex, smiling and working with various community members. They were attending events, leading workshops, and making public appearances. Jennifer looked radiant, her enthusiasm and passion for the work evident in every photo. The sight of her, so engaged and content in her new life, was a bitter reminder of what I had lost. The article praised their innovative approach and the significant impact they were already making. Quotes from Jennifer highlighted her dedication to the cause and her excitement about the future. There was a sense of pride and accomplishment in her words that was both inspiring and deeply painful for me. I closed the article and sat in silence, overwhelmed by a mix of emotions. On one hand, I was glad to see that Jennifer was pursuing something she believed in and that she was making a difference in the world. It was clear that her passion for charity work was genuine and that she was thriving in her new role. On the other hand, the news brought a surge of hurt and resentment. Seeing Jennifer move on so seamlessly, building a new life with Alex and achieving success, felt like a cruel twist of fate. It was a stark reminder of the betrayal and the life that had been torn apart. I found myself grappling with the reality that Jennifer and Alex's new venture was gaining recognition and acclaim. The success of their project was a testament to their commitment, but it also highlighted the void left in my own life. The contrast between their apparent happiness and my ongoing struggle was difficult to bear. Despite the pain, I knew I had to continue focusing on my own healing and growth. The news about Jennifer was a painful reminder of the past, but it also reinforced the need for me to find my own path forward. The journey of healing was far from over, but each step, no matter how small, was a step toward reclaiming my own sense of purpose and peace. I put the phone down and took a deep breath, trying to center myself. Jennifer's new chapter was unfolding, and while it was a chapter that no longer included me, it was a part of her journey that I had to accept. For my own sake, I had to focus on moving forward and finding a new direction in my own life. The days had blended into a routine, and I was gradually adjusting to the new normal of life without Jennifer. The emptiness of the house was still palpable, but I had started to find solace in small everyday activities. Work had become a welcome distraction, and I had begun exploring new hobbies to fill the void left behind. One crisp autumn afternoon, I decided to take a break from my usual routine and visit a local park. It was a place I had always enjoyed, offering a sense of tranquility amidst the chaos of my emotions. As I walked along the winding paths, taking in the vibrant colors of fall, I felt a sense of calm that had been elusive for some time. As I approached a small cafe nestled in the corner of the park, I noticed a woman sitting at one of the outdoor tables, engrossed in a book. There was something about her presence that drew me in, a sense of peace and composure that was immediately appealing. I hesitated for a moment, but then decided to order a coffee and sit at the adjacent table. The woman looked up as I took a seat, and our eyes met briefly. She gave me a polite smile before returning to her book. I couldn't help but notice her warm, inviting demeanor and the way she seemed completely at ease in her surroundings. After a few moments of sipping my coffee and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere, the woman closed her book and stretched. I decided to break the silence and introduce myself. "Hi, I'm Mark. Do you mind if I join you?" She looked up with a friendly smile. "Not at all. I'm Miranda," she said, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. "It's nice to meet you." As I sat down, we began to chat. Miranda was easy to talk to, and our conversation flowed effortlessly. She was engaging and genuinely interested in hearing about my experiences and thoughts. We talked about everything from favorite books to life in the city, finding common ground in our interests and experiences. Miranda had a warmth and intelligence that was both refreshing and comforting. Her presence was a stark contrast to the recent heaviness I had been feeling. She shared stories of her own life, her career, and her passion for community work, which interestingly mirrored some of my own interests. As the conversation continued, I found myself opening up more than I had anticipated. I shared some of the challenges I had faced recently, including the end of my relationship with Jennifer. Miranda listened with empathy and understanding, offering words of encouragement and support. "What's been helping you get through this time?" Miranda asked thoughtfully. I took a deep breath considering her question. "Finding new routines and focusing on things that bring me joy has been helpful. It's a slow process, but I'm learning to adapt." Miranda nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It sounds like you're taking positive steps. Sometimes, it's the little things that make a difference." As the afternoon wore on, I found myself reluctant to end our conversation. Miranda had a way of making me feel heard and understood, and it was a welcome change from the isolation I had felt in recent weeks. Before we parted ways, Miranda suggested we meet again sometime. "It's been really nice talking with you, Mark. Would you be interested in getting together again?" I smiled, feeling a sense of hope that had been missing for a while. "I'd like that. Let's keep in touch." As I walked away from the cafe, I felt a glimmer of optimism. Meeting Miranda had been a pleasant surprise, a reminder that there were still new connections to be made and new experiences to be had. It was a small but significant step toward rebuilding my life and finding new paths forward. The weeks following my initial meeting with Miranda were a period of surprising change and gradual healing. Our subsequent meetings became a regular and cherished part of my routine. Each time we met, whether at the park cafe or for a casual dinner, I found myself more at ease and uplifted by her presence. Miranda had a way of making even the simplest moments feel special. We explored new parts of the city together, attended local events, and enjoyed long conversations about our passions and dreams. Her enthusiasm for life was contagious, and it was through her eyes that I began to see the world with a renewed sense of possibility. One evening, as we strolled through a bustling street fair, Miranda suggested we take a break and sit down for a while. We found a quiet corner, with a view of the lively festivities, and settled on a bench. "I've been meaning to ask you," Miranda said, glancing at me with a curious smile. "What have you learned about yourself during this period of change?" I paused for a moment, reflecting on her question. The journey of the past few months had been a whirlwind, but it had also been a time of significant self-discovery. "I've learned that I'm stronger than I realized," I said, choosing my words carefully. "Even though it's been a painful experience, I've found a way to keep moving forward. I'm rediscovering parts of myself that I had neglected, and I'm learning to embrace new opportunities." Miranda nodded thoughtfully. "It sounds like you've gained a lot of insight through this journey. It's not easy, but it's amazing how we can grow from our challenges." Our conversation flowed naturally as we discussed our personal growth and the ways we were each finding new meaning in our lives. Miranda's perspective was refreshing, and her support had been invaluable during this time of transition. As the evening turned into night, we walked back to our cars, and Miranda turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "I've really enjoyed spending time with you, Mark. You've shown me a lot about resilience and how to appreciate life's small joys." I smiled, feeling a warmth that had been missing for a long time. "Thank you, Miranda. Your presence and perspective have been a bright spot in my life. I'm grateful for the chance to get to know you." We exchanged goodbyes and made plans for our next outing, both of us looking forward to the new adventures that awaited us. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on how much had changed since meeting Miranda. The sense of isolation that had once weighed heavily on me was gradually lifting. I was starting to envision a future that included new possibilities and connections. Miranda's friendship had become a source of comfort and inspiration. She had a unique way of making me feel valued and understood, and our time together had brought a sense of normalcy and joy that I had thought was lost. As I continued to rebuild my life, I embraced the lessons I had learned from my experiences and the newfound hope that had emerged. The journey was ongoing, but with each step, I felt more confident in my ability to navigate the path ahead. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I was looking forward to it with a sense of optimism and excitement. Miranda had become an important part of this new chapter, and I was eager to see where it would lead. Months had passed since that fateful day when Jennifer had left, and as I looked back on the journey I'd been through, I felt a profound sense of transformation. The pain of her departure had slowly given way to a deeper understanding of myself and a renewed sense of hope for the future. Life had not only moved on, but it also opened new doors that I hadn't anticipated. My relationship with Miranda had grown steadily, evolving from casual meetings to something more meaningful. She had become a steadfast friend and confidant, and our bond had deepened in ways I hadn't thought possible. We continued to explore the city together, share our experiences, and support each other through life's ups and downs. One crisp winter evening, as we walked through the park, the city lights twinkling around us, Miranda took my hand. Her touch was warm and reassuring, and it felt like a symbol of the new beginning we were sharing. "Mark," Miranda said softly, "I've been thinking a lot about us and the future. I want to see where this journey takes us. I'm really grateful for the way we've been able to support each other." I looked at her, my heart full. "I feel the same way. Meeting you has been a light in a time of darkness, and I'm excited about what the future holds for us." As we stood there, surrounded by the serene beauty of the winter landscape, I realized how far I had come. The pain of the past had not disappeared, but it had been woven into the tapestry of my life, adding depth and resilience. The new chapter I was writing was not defined by the betrayal and loss, but by the growth and connections that had emerged from it. Our relationship was still new, but it was built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. We both knew that our journey together would be one of discovery and learning, and we were ready to face it with open hearts and minds. The future was still filled with uncertainties, but I was no longer afraid. I had learned to embrace change and find joy in the unexpected. Miranda had shown me that life could be full of new possibilities, even after experiencing profound loss. As we walked hand in hand, the promise of tomorrow felt both exciting and reassuring. The past had shaped me, but it was not my defining feature. I was stepping into the future with a renewed sense of hope, armed with the lessons learned and the support of those who mattered most. With Miranda by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. The journey was far from over, but it was a journey I was now eager to continue. The new chapter was unfolding, and I was ready to embrace it with an open heart and a hopeful spirit.